Hello, friends. How are you today? Well, I wanted to come back and offer you some more insight and discussion about this big energy that was on the chart. And it's interesting because I had made this image as the thumbnail for my last video, and then I decided at the last minute to go with this. And this is the image that I created when I woke up in the middle of the night and saw. I just took a picture at like 1600 hours in the chart or something. But in the comments for that video that I made, there were two comments that I thought were really interesting, and they reflected this image, and I thought that was kind of cool. Unconditional Love and Light said, I wonder if the image of the man on the throne is the king of our own divine masculine energy, helping us take more control of our own life. Maybe we are being helped by God. Ping. And then Mitt wrote in and said, and I appreciate when people can share, and then like we all have different perspectives, and so I'm not offended, or I welcome other perspectives. And so he added his perspective and he acknowledged my perspective, but then he said that the image really resonated for him and it helped him surrender into meditation and, his own blessing of himself. So I thought that was awesome. And then what happened was, I started to think about the interpretation of the chart energy. And in my video yesterday, I interpreted the two types of energy on the chart as looking at humanity and a force attempting to impose itself on us. And that's one way of looking at it, and that's valid. And the other way of looking at it is what I'm going to discuss right now, because I was thinking it was so perfect, and it's so perfect with the energies of the time. Because the other way to look at it is, from the duality of our lives on Earth, you have structure, right? The light going into the matrix. And then you have more free-flowing form. So you have creativity into structure. You have light into form. You have energy into manifestation. And it's also very much like the difference between male energies and female energies. And it was interesting because I used this image of this man breaking his chains with his own power. And to me, when I had looked at the energies behind the scenes here, when I looked at the frequencies and the amplitudes and the qualities, and I won't repeat that discussion, you can look at the other video if you want to see it, but what I had concluded was that it was the human strength, right, of spirit, our own souls, like welling up through us and bursting forth and breaking ourselves free of that which is not truly us, breaking ourselves free of the matrix, if you will, breaking ourselves free from that which holds us back. And the feminine force is so creative, right? And the male force can be more associated with structure. Like, for example, in astrology, Saturn, Chronos, represents structure. Saturn rules Capricorn and traditionally ruled Aquarius. And Saturn is a mature man. He represents Chronos, time, building, creating foundations, and the force of divine will, right, through that. Because when you get into intense times like right now, what has divine backing, what has divine energy, is what breaks free of the detritus of the distortion and surges forth into the future, endures throughout time. And so we could look at that as, on one side, one of the energies, and then you have the feminine principle, and that's, for example, among others, but it's represented by Venus. Venus rules Taurus and the earth, and it rules Libra, an air sign, but representing balance and justice and the duality of energy, the duality of our world. But Venus is so very feminine, and she represents what is valuable. What are the true resources that each of us has and what we actually care about. And it's so interesting that this image, right, of the dual nature of structure and free-flowing, pure divine energy just pouring forth, and the two types of how white resonance is showing on the chart. It's so interesting because Saturn and Venus have come together and they met. They conjuncted. I'm not sure the exact date, but I don't know if it was yesterday but it was very recently. And it was funny because when I was chatting with my friend who teaches me astrology, she brought this up to me, and I just looked at her and I took my two hands and I was like, kiss, 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 like that. Because immediately the intuitive hit that I got, even though you don't think of Saturn and Venus, right, as partners, right, as partners together, yet they're so perfect together in what they represent. Saturn building, to protect resources, to enhance resources, to elevate resources, and Venus being the resource, being the value, right? And we can think of it in this image that I thought represented a man on a throne, and he seemed to be supported by the women down here. But, in human life, and let me make him bigger. There he is. See, I kind of saw a head here. He looks very unusual, but he could also look like a lion. It's really interesting. And what was really, really interesting, I was all over, looking at different people's Twitters who have engaged with me. And this image up here, it was so fascinating. This one gentleman from Turkey who follows me and has commented. It's interesting. Turkey is one of the countries where a bunch of people follow me. The other one is Brazil, and then there's Portugal, and there's some other countries, but Japan. But this Turkish man's account, there was an image that was so much like this, and it was called the Atlantean Ring. I liked it, so it's under my recent likes on my Twitter if you want to find it. And then, because I clearly had the idea when I saw this image that the man on the throne, that this was somehow real, and the technology that seems to be above him and then emanating here in this bigger picture, I felt like this is a real installation. I don't know if it existed in the past or if it currently exists, but I felt like this is somehow a real person, a real being. Maybe it's just a real state of being and the possibility of new technology. I don't really know. And this is another thing my girlfriend and I have chatted about that she says to me a lot is, what don't you know? Like acknowledging the fact that there's so much that we don't know. And but back to the male and female energy here. So, one thing about, and I'm just going to talk to male and female relationships and not beyond anything beyond that, because everything's of those energies in my view. But basically, how the women are here under the throne, right? And here, he's here above. It's interesting how he's sort of on the pedestal. And it's interesting because, you know, as women, men really, really benefit from and love our attention and adoration. The masculine just, even if they don't say that, they really thrive on it. And as women, we really thrive on the protection and the blessing of the presence of strong men in our lives. And so I just wanted to take a moment and honor that. And the combination of these two ideas, the dualisms of the energies, masculine and female, you know, free-flowing creativity, and then order, you know, that creativity brought into the structural form, the matrix here, and then chaos and order, right? The primordial forces in the universe. And I just thought it would be interesting to take a moment and talk about those. And here he is, you know, breaking free of the chains. And that's the energy that I got here, that we were in the grip of something here and we broke free, right? We broke free because of the welling up within us. And what I wanted to say was that, fascinatingly, a lot of truths have been released in the past 24 or 48 hours related to certain medical products and healthcare. And then when I was watching Twitter today, I saw the faces of some people who have been involved, and let's just say perhaps were the prime movers or associated with making these choices for the rest of us. And the looks on their faces are, it's really like a come to Jesus moment, you know? And I don't even think we're at the beginning of that, but there's a striking realization. You sit here and you wonder, what were they thinking, you know? And the whole range of whatever that could be is extraordinary and beyond my ability to imagine, right? Because I don't know what is going on besides what is in my thoughts in my life, although I can make observations. But there's something that we have as living human beings, as the human culture, but even within each one of us, there's something that we have the opportunity to break free from here.